Well, thank you, everyone, and welcome. Thank you for joining us. I know we've got people kind of coming in from across the country today. I'm really excited to be here. My name is Kim Matheson, and I'm with the University of Saskatchewan. We've got a wonderful partnership today with the Saskatoon Industry-Education Council to bring you a delightful conversation and some great music around creative resilience. So through music and conversation, we're going to dive into resilience today and what it's meant for each of us, share some wisdom, share some great stories, and share some music. So thank you for joining us. I'd like to acknowledge before we begin that we are on Treaty 6 territory and we live and work in the homeland of the Métis. We know we have people joining us from across our great country in different parts of our country. So welcome. We're very glad you're here and that you're joining us today. Today we're celebrating, as a part of our Canada Career Month celebration, the idea of resilience. Resilience is a term that we use quite a bit in career development and people's career journeys. And we found just very poignantly that resilience has really evolved as a natural theme for Canada Career Month this year. So the fact that it fell together as a theme, I think it was pre-planned as that. It just was beautiful. So we're delighted to have this conversation today. I want to introduce our three guests that we have with us today. We have David White, who is a good friend of mine and an author of a wonderful book about resilience, also a singer-songwriter as well. So we're in great company here with musicians. I can't carry a note, so I'm delighted to be handing over the singing and musical part to both of you. Heidi and Scott, thank you for joining us. Thank you for being part of the conversation. We're just thrilled. So maybe we'll start with just getting an idea of your career journey and kind of tell us a little bit about where you're at in your journey right now and share some of that with us.
Okay, well, this could go on, as you know, for as long as we wanted to, but Cole's notes on a career journey started out as a laborer, a meat cutter, and didn't really have a lot of education under my belt. And so it was learn as you go, and that includes a little bit of make it up as you go, I guess. Started out doing some sales work and quickly grew to grow business through leadership. And I think for me, turning the corner and really establishing myself in the world of business happened when I started to do business development. That just started to really resonate with me. I think everything was creative back then. Like it was, you could, it was like if it was a painter's palette, it would be completely empty, and I had all kinds of colors at my disposal, and I could do anything. And each time I did something, it would beckon me for more. And so, sales growth was crazy, and learning also. So I don't know how much you want to know, but I guess I could go on and say that most recently it's been back into business as a partner in business. I've gone through lots of iterations of reinventing myself. I think that's one theme I would touch on here. And also done a fair bit of music. So I'm always intrigued with these two. They do it much better more often than I do. But I really enjoy music's always been a massive outlet. And I'm sure we get to some of that here as well. Yeah. So right now I'm COO of what would be one of Saskatchewan's larger companies by now, and doing very well in lots of respects. But have my eye on something that I definitely want to talk about in the area of resilience, as you know, which is how we find meaning and purpose in alignment with the things that we do. So, yeah, maybe I'll rest there and let the others speak.
Well, when I read your notes, I just thought, wow, to go back really far. I guess I was probably 13 or 14 years old. I had my first paying gig. I made my first $50, and music was such a huge part of our lives at home. Mom and dad were very musical in Regina, and they had their projects. And if I don't ever remember being without it, I just don't. I sang an awful lot. I did all those contests in the late 80s and the early 90s. It was a huge time for live music, and there was incredible opportunities. I got to travel. I went to Toronto. I did some national things. I was down to Nashville. Won some awards. I'm never one to rattle them off. It was a long time ago. But there was just huge opportunities, and I was active very, very young in the road kind of scene. I think I was 18 or 19 years old. And that was a time when live music was all over the place. You couldn't go anywhere without them being live music. And the way I grew up at home was, dirt poor farmers and all that kind of thing. And music has gotten me through an incredible amount. It's just a reason to carry on sometimes when it's hard to find a reason. My family, I have 4 siblings, and it was always a little source of resentment with us. I think it was growing up. Heidi always got this opportunity and that opportunity, and everybody else kind of sat at home. And but we're past that now, and it's all good. And I went through a really strong country scene. I think in Saskatchewan, I don't think you can get away with not playing a country gig. It's impossible. Yeah. And I truly enjoyed that. I grew up on rock and roll, on country music. Spent many years doing that. It was very, very good to me. And later on, I went to Winnipeg, and to help pay my way through college, I joined a punk band for a while. I did all kinds of things, and that's something I don't share very much. And then, fast forward, I ended up in Prince Albert, and there was a nationally syndicated show out of Prince Albert, and it was a show called Number One West. And I'd never heard of it before, but I had a chance to work on that show, and do some touring with them. And that's when I found out about the Saskatchewan Country Music Association. I got nominated and won this award for something that I never knew existed at that time. And then later on, I've just always been a lover of all kinds of music. It's just always surrounded me, and probably about 10 or 15 years, I really started taking interest in jazz, and in R&B, and in blues, and just carrying that on. I am really glad now, especially in the days we're living in the moment, that I didn't put myself in a box that way, because being very versatile and having a love for an awful lot of music has really helped us out this year, especially. This year, especially. Yep. And we will touch on that a little later. Yep. But it's been a long time. It's probably, I don't know, probably 35 years. 35 years, yeah. I don't even remember.
Iterations, as David shared, it's just evolved, and different layers and different genres. And,
yes, it has, and I don't. There's truly a lot of things that I wouldn't have accomplished. I wouldn't have tried. I wouldn't have, You always try and find a way to make something work, and if I didn't. If I didn't have that grounding and that passion for music, I think I'd probably be a totally different person. I might give up a little easier. I don't know. Who knows?
So music really grounds your resilience.
Very, very much. Very much. I would say that's it right there in a nutshell. Yeah. Yeah, so that's about it.
Scott, tell us a little bit about your journey and where you're at.
Let's go way back. I started playing guitar, and I played keys, guitar, saxophone in band, and I was like 10 to 12 years old, and played through high school. had little bands in my basement, would jam with my buddies and did that. And then I started teaching guitar. It was my first actual job. Was like I had a few students. I think I charged like $15 a lesson. I had just kids from my small town. And then pretty much a week after I graduated, I went on tour with a gospel group that toured across Canada from BC to the East Coast and back. Played in churches. First gig I ever did was actually at Edmonton Maximum Security Prison.
Wow.
So that was the first gig. Wow. And I was 17 years old.
Wow.
I learned a lot at that time.
Just for clarity, were you actually in the were you?
I wasn't in prison at the
Oh,
time.
Yeah, got it, yeah.
I played in the prison.
Just for clarity.
Yes. But yeah, so that was kind of the eye-opening first show I ever did, which was interesting.
What an incredible first.
So it's basically like I, moved out of home and basically lived in a bus for a year.
Wow.
Right? And we did close to 300 shows. And then I came back from that and just needed a bit of a break from that, and decided to go to music school in Regina. So I went to the Professional Musicians College there and studied voice. And then from that, again, when I was living in Regina, just teaching was always happening. I mean, it was kind of the plan B that's always kind of got me through. But I do enjoy it. It's a lot of fun, like just getting people excited about learning music. And I find I learn every lesson I teach. I'm in the back of my mind, I'm like, I really should pay attention to what I'm saying and probably put it into practice. So I did that and was teaching, was doing some worship kind of stuff in churches. And then I moved to Saskatoon and just started meeting a different circle of people and ended up, starting to play for other people, doing a lot of coffee shops and, smaller kind of folk stuff, bookstores and all kinds of stuff. And then met, a friend of mine who we then formed the band Wyatt, which was, almost, it'd be like 15 years ago, right? And then we became kind of a rock country band. So it was like an evolution from, a guitar teacher to gospel music to folk music to rock country music and playing all sorts of different stages, bars across Western Canada. And then that of course runs its course and you're wondering like, what am I going to do next? Because a part of that, 10 years in a band, that's kind of your identity, even with the public and everything that went along with that. You put a lot, like you sacrificed a lot for it. You gave up a lot for it. And then when it's over, you're like, what do I do now? So it's that whole idea of bouncing back, and that's what I found interesting about the word resilience was the ability to bounce back. So out of that, I just, from my reputation around the city, I met another whole circle of people and just became a side guy that played for other musicians. And that's eventually how Heidi and I met.
Yeah, we were hired for the same gig.
Yeah. And that's totally, again, going from being the lead singer in a band that was pretty successful, won lots of awards and played, some big stages, to being kind of the guy in the shadows. It took a bit to kind of get used to. There's parts of it I enjoyed and parts of it you don't, but you kind of roll with the punches and always glad for every opportunity that's kind of come along. But along with that is, the versatility, the having an open mind to, as simple as like, learning any kind of music that's given to you to learn. So here we are now in 2020 and it's resilience once again.
Yeah.
And just finding different paths to, to make money, but also to still pursue your passion, because that never goes away. And it's never, anytime I've tried to get away from music, it doesn't ever, it doesn't let me.
It pulls you back.
It pulls me back
Yeah.
in. I love it and I hate it, but there's really, for me, there's not a plan B outside of music. But within that, there's so many different avenues to for a career. Right? So that's where we are.
Wow. I find that in working with youth and young adults, and I know at the university we work with a lot of young adults, and the Saskatoon Industry-Education Council, they work with high school, even as young as elementary students. And some of the people listening, and certainly the youth that we talk with, are just kind of getting their head around resilience and what that means. I know in terms of competencies that we're talking about students needing to move into the world of work, resilience is becoming more and more, something that we are discussing, and it's a term, and grit and things like that are coming more mainstream. What do you feel, and I think you were kind of starting to go there a moment ago, Scott, is what do you feel it means for a person to be resilient?
You have to, well, for me, what it meant is like, I'm in this profession. I don't have a way out. So I have to kind of work with what I have and make things happen. And luckily, I've been prepared that when opportunities come, I can take advantage of them. But it is a matter of like, lately it's just daily kind of picking yourself up and going like, just keep moving forward. Just eventually there'll be some light at the end of this tunnel.
Yeah.
If not, just keep moving forward.
Yeah.
So for me, it's something I just do automatically because I can't give up what I've been doing for like over 30 years.
Yeah. Yeah. Awesome. Heidi and Steve?
I think a lot of how your resiliency comes in your career and in your passions comes from kind of how you grew up as well. A lot of that, I've been known to be a very frustrating person. I don't give up if it appears that something's not going to work, or there's roadblocks in the way, I will push and push and push until something works. And sometimes that's a good thing, sometimes not so much.
Most of the time it works out.
Whatever you think.
I've never seen it not work out.
Whatever you think. But I don't even really think about it. It isn't a real conscious thing like, okay, Heidi, dust yourself off. Let's just figure this out. It's honestly just something that I do. It's just bred into me. It's just something that I do. And this year has been absolutely incredible to be resilient, I'll tell you. I lost my father in April, and then Mom got incredibly sick, and the whole industry went in the toilet, and all of our jobs were canceled, and it was just, and amongst this, that the life that everybody's living, it was just like a kick in the head every day. But the one thing is that I find, for me, with a passion so deep, and when everything else goes in the toilet, that's the one thing that's always there. And that it has helped us be creative. I think that you really search to find the good and the positive when sometimes it doesn't seem like there's a whole lot there.
So it's very intentional.
It is. Yeah. It is. And a lot of times it does force us to. And I think that sometimes you do need to be intentional about being resilient, but I think it's also from the way you were taught, and from your belief systems, and from your versatility to adapt. And those are all life skills you kind of learn, along the way. But when it comes to music, it's probably a lot easier to be resilient in that respect than an awful lot of things, because you're so passionate about it. So, yeah.
Well, I like their answer better than the one I'm about to give you, actually.
It'll be brilliant.
Yeah.
It will be really profound.
Writing about resilience in a magazine for, 10 years or something, and writing a book on it, and doing grad studies papers on it, and coming up with these nice, wax eloquent, persevere, adapt, and excel through life's change, challenge, and crisis. I believe all of that. That's correct. And understanding the value of having supportive relationships. So what Heidi's talking about with, are the people around you that when you get isolated and you feel like you're not going to make it, who are you drawing from? Who's there for you? That's important. A sense of self-mastery. So as these guys are both talking and I'm listening to, this is the thing I do and I'm good at it. And they are good at it. And, that sense of self-mastery is something that keeps calling us forward, at least that we feel competent in something. And then the process, music is a process. So you've got something that you can get up every day and practice. So you just keep, working it. And so all of their story is fitting so well as I'm just listening to them tell it. I'm kind of narrating in my mind the connection to all the dots that I've learned over time, and I would say, yeah, that's exactly it. And then for myself, this is the interesting thing. In fact, this is what really connected first Scott and I, and then Heidi and I. But my own resilience could have been challenged through COVID. Here's the resilience speaker that's sees a shot across the bow coming, because you're in a COVID season and work is kind of taking on this. The only word I can think of is disorientation. It's like you had an expectation that things were going to go like that, and then all of a sudden, and you're left with a pivot point. How are you going to reinvent yourself now? And so, I was at that juncture, and I remember talking with my wife and saying, I had to do something. I can feel it. Like if I don't do something to challenge my mind creatively, then. So I had 4 albums before. Unlike Scott, he did the 300 days a year on the road. I had a producer tell me, you could do this. It'll just take you 300 days of the year on the road. And I went, can't do it. I'm not going to make it. So I went to business and decided music's a hobby. That's it, right? So, but I did turn to music at that time. So I remember I'd gone through March. My wife and I had just come back from a holiday, landed the day after, it was March 15th or something. All of this change is happening. And so it took me 2 weeks or so to kind of get through some things, and then I just decided I got to do something. So for April 2nd, to me, I don't know what, I wrote 30 songs. It just exploded. No, not all of them good songs, and you write the good and the bad. But and then ended up recording my 5th album. And for me, music was. I don't have the time and opportunity to do the album justice in a way. I'm not going to be able. I have too many responsibilities, too many people that expect me to go to work every day that I can just. Do what I would love to do with that album, but at the same time, doing a creative project like that, just think about the things I said, supportive relationships, so you're coming around other artists and you're kind of working together, collaborating. There were 23 people in 13 nations that did that album. It was amazing. And then the family kind of gathering around. I'm bouncing stuff off my son, who wants a credit as a pseudo producer credit as Vanilla Suede or something. We've got that going on, and so all of those relationship pieces, and then but the outlet of being able to focus on the process of music, thinking about the structures and disciplines of a song, verse, chorus, bridge. Keys, styles. I tried a blues album this time. I hadn't done one, done a little playing with blues, but not a lot, and so I really went after that. But so when I'm, back to the origin of the question, what is resilience? It's all of that, and yet the one thing that I know, after all of the words are said, what gives you a sense of meaning where you contribute value to that meaning. And if you can understand that and find ways to do it, which I love what you said, Heidi, I find a way to do it, find a way to get it done. And there's a sense of sort of almost like, adventure, adversary, whichever word you want to use, right? You're going to conquer somehow. And I think that's important.
For me, I find there's a sense of just knowing. That there's just not an option kind of thing, but it's just this
That's
knowing.
Exactly what it is.
Yeah,
because you don't have an option.
You just know, right?
Yeah.
Looking back, and especially, we can go pre-March 2020, but if you think about specifically the last 7 months, when you look back, what have been kind of some cues or signs for yourself that you were being resilient? When you think back about the last 7 months. Or even today, like in the moment, but also most recently, what has told you that you were being resilient, or what would be some things that would be that cue for you?
for us, I think it's that we didn't stop working. We didn't stop working when the bottom fell out of everything. We just...
Yeah, and we made a point of...
We made a point. We really
saying
made a
like,
point.
well, if we can't play in front of people, we'll play online. Like right from March 20th, we played till mid-June. Till everything was opened up back again. And then we still had to... I was like, well, now that's kind of done. What do we do now? And then...
But then, like, well, a backstory to that is that, like, I had created an awful lot of projects. There was the Passion of Amy Winehouse, and that was like a sold out show at the Broadway Theatre, and it did a few theatre dates, and we were actually it was booked back at the Broadway for a repeat performance within 2 weeks, I guess, of when the shutdown came, and I remember sitting in my car, and I just watched over my phone, just cancellation for like all of our work, for all these projects. You know,
there was never any good
there wasn't
emails
any good.
coming from anybody
There was
at that time.
And it was just it was absolutely devastating. And then I remember when was it, around the end of May or something, I think, I had actually talked to Kevin Tobin from the Jazz Festival and Kirby from the Broadway Theatre, and then some smaller venues in the province and some artists in the province, and that's me, whether I was being totally delusional or what, I don't know. But I just thought, well, we just can't stand for this. Somebody's got to do something. We just have to do something. So anyways, I got a hold of an MLA. I started the Reopen Live Music Saskatchewan Facebook page and all over the place, but tried to do it very safely and very politically correct. Not even politically correct. It was just acknowledging that we as artists and industry people and techs and everybody, that we need to work the same as everybody else does, and we're falling in the cracks. We're literally falling in the cracks. And so there was conversations with ministers, and there was some artists that really stepped up, and there was impact statements given, like financial impact statements, life impact statements, and I think those things alone really, I don't think the people making those decisions really realized that these are people's lives, you know. But we got very busy. Like we were truly blessed, really, really blessed. We had a lot of people step up, and there was parking lots, and there was
buses,
bus garages.
There was lots, backyards.
It was a really good time for us. It was like anywhere. We were playing anywhere. It didn't matter, and it was great. It was really good. Yeah.
Wow. I think just to be, as I know Scott and Heidi are too. We were having this little preamble, before, and it's like, do you always feel you're resilient? I think the answer to that, honestly, is no. We don't always feel resilient. So how do you know that you're resilient? And some of it is just exactly like what they just said. You just kind of find a way to keep going. And I think there's one thing I'd add to that is, as you keep going, one of the things I do notice is that it's not just about bouncing back with respect to that comment. I do like that comment. What I do notice in when I see resilience happening to me, it's not just I come back with a different awareness. And it's like somehow what you just went through has affected you. And so, as I'm thinking about our audience and just thinking about what resilience would mean to them, it would be like, one of the most important things is to know that, especially in music, we have a voice. Like if Heidi's voice or Scott's guitar disappears, Scott's voice too, but Scott's guitar especially disappears, the world's lost something. Like there's only one of those. There's lots of guitar players, there's lots of vocalists, but there's only one of Scott. There's only one of Heidi. And so, that's a lesson that I've had to really be mindful of, reminding myself that if you don't keep on finding a way and being aware and being curious about life and not taking every setback as a death sentence, but actually taking it as, okay, I got to pivot again, whatever that looks like. As I said, in my career, it's been, certain things in industry changed and things in me changed, and so you're pivoting. And, we went, man, that was one of the first times we met to have a conversation about, like, what am I going to be when I grow up? Because this isn't working anymore, so you're transforming yourself. And so coming through each of those and adapting and knowing that your awareness has changed, I think that those are signs of resilience. And then looking for, obviously, the positive translations of those things as much as you can is evidence of, I'm doing all right. And conversely, if then the translations are all negative, or if you feel a regression or an atrophy, then you should reach out. And so those are some early tells,
That's a beautiful lead into the next kind of line of conversation. Is we've heard a lot, especially over the past 7 months, about mental health and well-being, and we know that some people are really able to dig deep and find that resilience, and some others of us are struggling, and that's been a journey for sure in many ways. And I've heard a lot of people talking about the silver linings of COVID and kind of being able to find those and articulate those. What advice would you have, and particularly for youth or young people that are maybe struggling to kind of find their resiliency or identify their resiliency? What kind of words of wisdom would you have for people who are struggling in that way?
That's a good question.
I think it's to be open. I think when your world is threatened and the things around you are threatened, you consistently feel the need to be in control and to feel powerful and in control. And the one thing that I have learned is, and it's quite practical actually, it's not that profound, is that if you really open yourself up to learning, for us, all I ever wanted to do was make music. I didn't want to worry about any business stuff. I didn't want to have to worry about all that stuff. We are marketers. We are artwork people. We are booking agents. We are ticket takers. We are production people. We are
cleaners at the last gig.
We are disinfecting benches. We
know how to sanitize now.
But I just think that when your world is really toppling over, we feel the need to just hang on and but maybe you just need to let go a little bit. Maybe you just need to let go a little bit and be open to learning new things and to adapting and to resiliency, because I think the more you try and control things, the less resilient you're going to be. But
that's massive, by the way.
Yeah.
I just got to jump in on that point. So, we live in a world of algorithms and precise calculations of how things will go, and sometimes they don't work.
They don't.
And so I'm listening to the stories here and remembering several times in my life when coming up to those reinvention points. I mean, it sounds like, oh yeah, you had to reinvent. No, you don't understand. 4 months of unemployment, no idea what I was going to do next. Got a job for a little while, then 6 months of unemployment, no idea what I was going to do next. And then the worst scenario was a year where, as a consultant, I didn't bill a thing. And I went into a depression and had to kind of get some help to dig my way out of that. And those are real moments. That's not just like talking about, you had to reinvent. No, I had to reinvent. Like, there's a heaviness to that. So, but back to, what would we advise? It's like grace, man. When we can't always control life, and when one of my favorite philosophers, psychologists, psychiatrists is Viktor Frankl, and unfortunately he's no longer with us, but Man's Search for Meaning, everybody's required reading. When we're no longer able to control the circumstance, we're challenged to change ourselves. And I think that's right. And so, sort of understanding, first of all, you stand as a miraculous gift in the world. Like, just, you know, the fact that we can play guitar or sing stands on a foundation of, is this not amazing? Like, I know, it's like, what's he doing playing with his hands? They're huge, what's going on? But it's, how do they play guitar? That's the question, right?
It is amazing.
It is amazing. Gets a wider neck, that's how it gets a bit. So, but truthfully, the mechanics of it, I mean, it's like, you know, as a human being, are you not like the most amazing thing walking around? Like it's incredible. And so to take that gift and then, you know, use the desires and passions. I love listening when Heidi says, you know, I've never had anything else I wanted to do, or Scott, I'm dedicated to this. You know, my career path's gone like this, but you know, it's a different road. That at the heart of it all, it's like this thing inside of me that has to be creative and express, and so you find ways to do that. But for every person, I'd say, like, find, you know, not just the thing you like doing. It's not just that. It's something that gives you a sense of meaning and connection to the larger world. In academic terms, would be the sense of transcendence. You know, that you're connected to something larger than yourself, and it's important. And so when you put some of those things together and just start to practice it, and that's why I say grace. You're not going to do it right all the time. Good Lord, like it's.
Yeah.
You're going to make mistakes and you're going to take wrong turns, and just grace for yourself, grace for life, grace for others, and just keep practicing. Just keep playing the game, playing the song. Yeah, right on.
Anything for you to add, Scott?
To me, it's you know, not looking too far into the future, because you can get overwhelmed by that, especially in this situation now. It's like daily. It's like, you know, I don't know what's going to happen tomorrow.
Yeah.
Literally. And it's frightening, you know, and it's scary at times. And sometimes you're like, why do I even care about music anymore? Why should I learn another song? All our gigs might be canceled again.
Yeah.
You know, where you're trying to find like momentum and find inspiration. But the times that I find that I can kind of like hold my head high that day and then, you know, smile on the inside is like when I go, that's tomorrow's problem.
Yeah.
That's literally tomorrow's problem. You know, it may be a bigger problem. It may be worse than what you're in right now. You know, it may be better. You know, who knows?
He reminds me of that a lot.
And yeah, but that's the only. That's honestly the only way that I can get, like, that I can cope with it is that. Well, that's, you know, right now everything's cool.
Yeah.
You're still alive. You're still breathing.
Yeah.
You know, and tomorrow you probably will be too. You know. And looking back, like over the past 7 months or a year, it's like, I survived like you can look back and go like, oh yeah, that wasn't so bad. Like our memories are always short that way, where, you know, when you're in it, it seems like the worst possible thing. And then when you look back, you're like, actually, I kind of enjoyed this from there. And I noticed that I'm this person now. It's different, right?
Yeah.
Different. And some days you can be like, yeah, throw some more stuff at me. Let's see how, you know.
Yeah, bring it. Yeah.
How beat down I can get. But the thing is, like, the people that I know and myself, it's like we always just, there's never a giving up attitude. It's always like when we get together with friends or like David, Heidi, it's like we're talking about what could we do if this happens? What are our options? Or do we just, at the end of the day, go like, well, it's just got to wait it out till things turn around a little bit, but we'll be okay for now, you know.
Yeah.
That's all I got.
And trusting that the nuggets of today will work in your favor for tomorrow, kind of thing.
Hopefully,
and what you picked up.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Well, you're no worse off. Like, that's the thing, you know, the things that we learn, whether they're a direct correlation or not. I mean, how can you, you know, ever say that, well, you know, I'm worse off now knowing. I get, like, maybe ignorance is bliss, but that would be like, I didn't see the truck coming, no big deal. So I think that that would be something that I've had lots of conversations with close friends about this exact point. You know, if you had nothing else at the end of your life but the character that all of life had formed in you, would that be enough? And it's like, well, yeah. I mean, it's got to be. It's who we become. You know, all of our human being enters this doing thing, and all this stuff goes on, and what we become is so important. And so, if we can kind of keep our, you know, eyes on that, like ultimately, right? So.
Well, you know, like for me, I think speaking as a parent as well, raising my children, doing, you know, this is like 75% of my income. So raising 3 kids pretty much most of the time for all their years on my own, it's a pretty unconventional way to raise your kids. But the one thing, and actually it's quite funny, my daughter and I had this conversation not that long ago. She is very stubborn, not to a fault, but she makes things work. She figures life out, and she came to me and she told me, she said, "You know what, Mom, I'm really proud of you. I don't know anybody else that could have done that." And because working in the music industry sometimes doesn't have a great reputation. You know, like, I mean, it's not the most, it isn't the most upstanding job historically. You know, it has attitudes and beliefs, and but raising my children to go after their passions and don't do things halfway, and you finish what you start. They've learned a lot of those lessons, and I don't think I ever could have been that kind of a parent if I wasn't doing something that was just such a part of me.
Yeah.
That I just don't see doing anything else. So for young people, I think it's very, very important. Yeah, you know what? Making money is really important. That's just a huge part of life. We can't really do without it, as we've learned. As we've learned this year.
Speak for yourself.
As we've learned. But also just really having a love, just really finding something, some diamond in there that just always shines, that you want. You know, I mean, it's the rest of your life. Go after what you love, you know, and things generally work out. They do. I think so.
So tell us about this first piece that you're going to play.
The song is called Give Up or Give In. And we wrote it last summer. It feels like years ago, but it was last summer. And I just had this idea. I was walking home. I think I was walking home from the jazz festival or something, and just thinking about a lot of challenges, relationship challenges, family challenges. You know, your kids. And speaking of resiliency, it was the whole concept of do we throw in the towel and do we give up on a situation or a love or a child or anything, or do we actually have to let go and give in a bit in order for things to come back to us? And that's kind of where this song started. You know, I mean, it is a love song, but as it kind of morphed through the writing process, you know, you have to have some kind of a direction for writing, but that's where the whole concept of the song came from. It was, do we give up or give in? And it gives you something to think about.
We are what we are. Some things never change. Too scared to leave, and not strong enough to stay. It's been that kind of night. We know how this ends. It is what it is. Do we give up or give in?
Teardrops were silver, laughter was gold. You know we'd be living
richer than most. We can't take it with us. Time to save it or spend. It is what it is. Do we give up or give in?
Will this love keep on burning? Can we make it last? Will we just be two strangers? A flame from the past? Will we sift through the embers when the fire's gone cold? Or do we let them burn down to the coals? We've been here before. Can we do this again? Tell me, do we give up? Do we give in? Will this love keep on burning? Can we make it last? Will we just be two strangers? A flame from the past? Will we sift through the embers when the fire's gone cold? Or do we let them burn down to the coals? We've been here before. Can we do this again? Tell me, do we give up? Or do we give in? We are what we are.
Some things never change.
Too scared to leave.
But not strong enough to stay.
It's been that kind of night. We know how this ends. It is what it is.
Do we give up or give in?
It is what it is.
Do we give up or give in?
So thank you everyone for joining us and for being a part of this conversation today. Thank you to Dave and Heidi and Scott. I think they're going to take us home with a song called Safe. Thank you again for being part of our conversation. And over to Heidi and Scott to take us home.
City lights are moving way too fast. All these colors pulling me under, they're holding me back. I need to find the light behind these blurred lines of broken down neon signs. They're blinding me. Wish you could find me.
I'm on the outside. I'm on the outside looking in. Come to your window. Come to your window and just let me in. Hoping till the sun comes up. Darling, let it be enough. I know you can chase the storms away. Tonight I need to share the hurt. We don't have to say a word. In your arms I'll always find my place. You make me feel safe, safe, safe. Wanna hop in a time machine, hit rewind back to the good times. Two kids on a swing. full of big dreams. I should have known without you I'd get lost. I should have stayed when I walked away.
Even when I was wrong, you left the light on. Oh,
I'm on the outside, I'm on the outside looking in. Come to your window, come to your window and just let me in. Hold me till the sun comes up, darling, let it be enough. I know you can chase the storms away. Tonight I need to share the hurt. We don't have to say a word. In your arms I'll always find my place. You make me feel safe, safe, safe. I'm on the outside, I'm on the outside looking in. Come to your window, come to your window and just let